can you hear me?
Yeah, was that Max?
This is Mike.
Okay, Mike.
Yes.
Just give me a brief moment, and then we're gonna get going, okay?
Absolutely.
And if you need to share anything on the screen, you can do that set up now.
No, thanks, Ted.
Okay, greetings, everyone, members from the Finance Committee and from the Economic Development Committee. Tonight, I have two things to present. Neither one of these things need immediate action, but on the second part, I think what I'm looking for is a head nod to direct staff to move forward. It's not something that has to go to the Board of Trustees. It's a marketing tool for us for economic development. But I wanted to roll it out to the group and see if you were as enthusiastic about it as I was when we get going. But first and foremost on the agenda is work we've been doing on a redevelopment agreement with the owners of Delta Sonic Car Wash, the Bendersons. They've been a great partner for us over many years, just completing their last build out, which was several $1 million project, you know. So in trying to further their development in our town, we really enticed them to look at the former Glenwood Theater parcel. And their concept on the Glenwood Theater parcel is one of two things, or maybe some combination. Kind of looking for some inputs this evening before we come back, probably with this project in about another month for final ratification or recommendation to the board. So this is an early rollout and informational meeting. So what their proposal includes to us is to either develop what they call, and I'll probably get this wrong, but Mike Yount is on the phone and he'll correct me, but it's a concept they have with their VIP club, whereas car enthusiasts or car people go through the car wash, or they can come directly to this facility, and it's a very impressive greenhouse type building. It has vacuums inside of it. It's all contained within a glass enclosed structure. Or they would be willing to purchase the property. Well, they're going to purchase it either way, and I'll tell you how much that value that is to us. Or they would place on the parcel something we've been talking about for a long time, either a 3 or 4 unit commercial strip. The advantage to this proposal is there's no residential unit included. And you'll know that some of the prior discussions we've had have always included commercial first floor, residential second and third and fourth maybe. That wasn't real palatable to most, so we kind of passed on most of those. This seems to be a real viable option. The car wash has agreed to purchase the property there for $250,000. And in the throes of our negotiation, let me back up a minute. That is the purchase price of $250,000. One might say, well, why do they want this remote parcel? Well, what they've come up with is a design that could further mitigate those cars backing up on Halsted Street by taking some of the flow that comes off the car wash and diverting it, and they're willing to put a bridge over our swale, our detention pond lead-in, and bring that little bridge over there to bring cars off of the car wash, thus alleviating some of those cars from going on to Halsted. Then they would come through this detail area and then exit out onto our coolant and then head back up to the stoplight at 183rd and Halsted. The advantage they're looking for is this will also free up space on their parcel so they can reconfigure some of the waiting lines and give them an opportunity to have their employees park back on this parcel and then walk across that bridge to go to work. So it's removing some of their employee cars, which have become pretty cumbersome in the backside there. And this will allow them to reconfigure some of their drive lanes so that they can stack better, and then that we can discharge better from the car wash itself. So they're hoping to have a final decision in the next 4 to 6 weeks, and depending a lot on some of our inputs here tonight, to pursue this VIP kind of detail center you get your car washed, come in there, and I'm not that guy, but some people are very snickety about their cars and want to open all the doors and wipe the panels and everything. It would be a self-service kind of thing where the guys can hang out and talk about car guys and gals, I guess, would hang and talk about cars and things like that. So that's their concept. The other one is, either way, there are two tremendous advantages they're looking for, is the additional parking for employee, which frees up land to reconfigure, and then also for a better exit path, so they can take some of these cars off of Halsted Street, and I know Chief Petticourt and I have talked about this many times, and that does meet that goal of what we're trying to do to make it safer on Halsted Street. So, it is our standard fare in our redevelopment packet. It's exactly the same as anything else. They would be eligible for 50% of, they would be eligible to get 50% of their tax bill paid until they reach a level of 100% of their eligible costs in the project. And remember, eligible costs can be anything except a new building. So either way they go, either with the little strip mall piece or with the glass enclosed solarium for detailing, self-detailing, either way, those two structures would not be eligible for any reimbursement. But the site work, the lighting, all that kind of stuff that is TIF eligible, and again, that would only be reimbursed to them at a rate of 50% as they pay their tax bill. Again, it's that eat what you kill or pay as you go. It's no cash up front. And remembering that the $250 that we sell that for, that would be coming back to the village sheriff, and they would pay that up front. So that's it in a nutshell. I wanted to give Mike a moment to just explain, and if there's any questions, I think you have it on your monitors now. Mike, did you want to give a little background?
Sure. Thank you very much, Kevin. Appreciate it. I can share, but it says that I'm unable to share because I'm not the host of the meeting. I don't know if that's something you can change or not. So you can now see, can you see my screen now?
They're working on it. I'm not the guy.
Okay.
Did that give you any access points?
Yes, 1 second. It should work.
One little bit on that. How would that affect your fire trucks coming out on our fault?
It won't. The new fire station path is going to be, they pull in from the alley side on the drive-through, they go out on Roberts and hook around. So it is no direct conflict.
Are you able to see the?
Yes, that's
screen?
it's up there, Mike. I was just answering one question.
Oh, okay.
No, there would be a whole turn before that, and the drive access, as you'll see, is remote enough where we can control it. Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, thank you. So yeah, it's, again, fairly simple when it comes to what that property use could be for us. Is we did the layout, as you look at the left-hand side, approximately a third of the property is that MWRD retainage, which we can't touch, we would not touch, we would, we can clean it up, make it look nice, but we're not able to do anything in regards to its volume or its capacity. Then as you run along on the southern, or I say this in the picture, the southern, but it's actually the west end, you also have the main, that is the main ditch portion of that, for that overflow, for that MWRD storage. We're proposing to put, basically you have about a 20 to 20, just about 20 foot, at this point, 20 foot drive lane over top of that, like a bridgeway, that would not affect any of the water flow underneath. You basically would do culverts and things, so it would be basically like a regular bridge, if you want to call it that. It would be engineered, of course. And then you would pull up, and what that would do is it allows us to have, our proposal would be to have in there the parking spaces in this first phase, would give us approximately 44 parking spaces for employees. As Kevin said, you've got the employees and they can walk back over, then and go to our site, which is currently in location to our site. We have our Free vacuum area, again, this is an area that's a little outdated, but you've got your free vacuums right here next to Popeyes. You've got our convenience store, fuel operations. This shows the old detail shop, but that's where the car wash is. But this allows us, again, to get our employees from parking over here. They currently park in the free vacuum area. They park along in front of the store because we just do not have the parking there. So this would bring them over, and it also is, we said, would also provide them an additional exit lane only for the customers who are leaving this property, that they would come over that bridgeway, go to the right, travel on down, and then go off and then exit out that direction.
And I think it's important too, as Mr. Plott and Dave Schilling, we've looked at this, and you can see that the west edge of that property doesn't line up quite with the roadway coming out of there, so that creates a hazard. That's why we suggested they move the drive out farther to the east. So that was all considered. Go ahead, Mike.
Okay. So that's what this would be the initial stage, would be to do this for the initial roadway, the parking, etc. For it. Then the next portion of that, and pull that up. Well, let me just say this, in that space, one thing, I apologize. Technology. So where I want it to be. Oh, this is the courts. Okay, sorry, here we are. So this is the property as it would look if we were to have, in essence, if we were to put future development there. This is the portion where we would look to put it. This example here, it would be basically in that same area. This footprint here would be approximately a 14,000 square foot VIP building, as we call it, or a Super Plus Club, and I'll show you that in a minute what they look like. But that would be about the area. Now, if we were to put any kind of a retail space, it would be in that same area as well. You can see it adds the additional parking, it's 25 additional parking spots. With this layout, you do have a one-way in, one-way out, and again, it maintains the same exact traffic pattern that we had taken advantage of in the first phase, exiting out on the side street, as well as the parking in and out. So again, this area here is really the designated area for that development. Then for the picture portion of it, I will show you what they look like. So now this is an example of what that building could look like. You're able to see the building, correct? Kevin?
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to make sure, sir.
Can you go back to the?
Yeah, there we go. Correct. So this is an example of, this is actually a rendering of the building. This is one of the last buildings. I have some pictures of it as well. But here's another view of that building. Basically, those buildings are one way in, one direction, one way out. On the inside, as you can see, what they have is the vacuums for those buildings are as part of the VIP club. You go in there, you have access to your own vacuum for the car vacuum, similar to your free vacs outside. But this is outside, or inside, excuse me, where you're protected from the elements. You also have additional things like a mat machine. You have the ability to scrub your mats. There are wash sinks. You're able to do air for your tires. You have air available to blow out the windows, blow out the interior, glass cleaner. There is a rag program that you do in here. So this really gives somebody the opportunity. A lot of people stay here about 20 minutes at a time, kind of really dry their own car and or clean their car, and that's part of the club membership. The other version of that building, which again it comes into what we would look at, this is the same exact building, the same operation, but this one is a different structure versus the greenhouse. This is really your traditional build with the curtain wall, glass curtain walls. Again, same thing, very, very unique looking but neat looking building. As you can see, it does the same thing with all the glass. They're very attractive building. This would be, our intent would be to put something like this in that spot. But as Kevin said, the initial and or something that is the retail side. The initial, and I will then, I guess at this point, I'll stop sharing unless there's any questions.
No, I think the only clarification was the question I was asked is, I mean, the goal of this is not to necessarily increase the business volume of Delta Sonic. He's looking to better serve his current customer base and also to address our issues of traffic flow. And these are club member type things. It isn't a quick serve type of thing that's adding more volume. We're looking to disperse our volume better on this parcel, if that makes any sense.
Correct. As an explanation, you have to be in the unlimited car member. You have to be an unlimited car member for the car wash, plus have the additional plus package. And again, I don't know prices or things of that nature, but it's specific to those customers where before you enter our building, there is a gate, just like if you were to go through the XPTs, as we call them, or the automatic gates. It reads a sticker on your vehicle, it allows you, it opens up and it allows you to go inside the building. So it's not it's not for anybody just to come off the street and hang out in there or do anything like that. We do have personnel that would be there during that time, because they have to maintain it, they have to clean up after, anybody who's in there, they have to, put things away, keep the place clean, and then also man the gate in case there's anybody who pulls up and has a problem with their access. Where it's located isn't ideal for us because we typically have it near a wash so that employees from the wash can walk over there and manage it. But that's something on our end that we would deal with, not a problem. But we would have somebody there. So it is not a free vacuum service. That is further off on our property. That's the ones that are located between us and Popeye.
And we've also, at staff level, with the police, looked at and explained to them our desire to have a lot of low lighting. It doesn't go off the site, but we want that site lit up very well. And of course, the camera access, even for remote in from the police department. So those are some of the things we've looked at. So as I said, this is a preliminary presentation. It isn't anything different from anything we presented for as far as a redevelopment agreement is. This will be refined over the next couple of weeks and then be sent back out to you. Then we'll look for a recommendation to the village board probably in the second meeting in October or possibly November. Because you're looking there's date specific on the agreement. Once the agreement is signed and executed, there's so many days before work on the project has to start and complete. All of that as we've done in all the other ones. So, anybody have any questions I didn't hit? Yeah, Jesse.
How would that affect the other car wash and the recreation center that's coming in allegedly down the street?
And Mike, we talked about that, and so we have with Silcon as well. The belief is that it's really two separate level of client. It's the person who wants that quick hit and quick wash, and it's in the car wash business. I think it's kind of like the car dealership business. If we all know that car dealers are all next to one another, it's kind of the process, and I believe one will not distract from the other.
Yeah, but wouldn't the same amount of traffic flow on Strife like the non-traffic that comes out of Sonic that when you go northbound in Austin?
Well, Delta Sonic, they're going to come off onto Arquilla and turn onto Arquilla, go to the stoplight from their left or right. They're not going to travel through the plaza because then you don't have a controlled stoplight to let you back around the Holston.
And you said the price of the property land is $250,000.
$250.
I thought it was less than that.
I did good, see? I did good.
Yeah, well, that was less than the property was up for. I want to build that.
The senior center?
That's done it all. You want to build an office space, commercial property on the ground floor, and the parking lot inside.
Underneath, yeah. I thought that was 2 or 250, same amount of sale.
Still on for sale,
it was in that group, but it wasn't him specifically, it was a different.
It was a part of that.
Right, he was a part of it, but he wasn't the main. John, somebody, or JD was the presenter.
Now, you know, that's what put a lot of congestion on Paul, especially on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just trying to come out of there or whatever. So put a lot of pressure there.
And remember too, in this whole process, as you've stated before, we need to redo that center island, clean that up, and dress that up, and that'll be part of this project. So we control that traffic better.
Well, what would be our return on investment?
The return on investment is the sale of the lot of the 2 pins that are in the front. So that would be a return on that, and then any products that are sold, depending which way it goes. If he puts in a retail center, maybe our sales tax is a little higher, or if he puts in the VIP car wash, our return on the investment of sales tax might be lower. But then as well, it's going to start to increase the value of that land for a tax bill.
So right now, we're not entertaining any thought of any Class 8 or any chips or anything.
No. Well, the TIF is the 50% reimbursement of the TIF
We're
eligible.
not considering that now.
Well, it's in the redevelopment agreement, but not tonight. I'm not asking for anything
Let
tonight.
me see if I can clarify this. This is just a presentation. This is not a recommendation.
No, but the recommendation is for you to absorb this because it's coming back to you
Yes.
in 4 to 6 weeks. Yeah, and this was information on this one.
We're going to go about the retail part of this.
Mike, I don't think it's been defined or refined enough. It was either going to be 3 or 4, a building built with 3 or 4 different, maybe 1,500 to 1,800 square foot small retail spaces that would have to be leased out. And what he gets for that is unknown at this point. I mean, they're willing to expend that money to get that parking and remove some of that traffic congestion off of Halsted. Whatever's developed on that square is really a bonus. All right. Thanks, Mike. You guys-
Thank you very much. All right, thank you, appreciate it. Thank you, everybody.
Moving right along so we can keep someone on schedule, because I know we've got several things and a hard stop here shortly. The other one I wanted to have was Mr. Max Franklin from Placer AI. And I'm going to let him describe what his business product is, but it's several of the local municipalities have contracted with this group. And in my simple explanation, what I can tell you is it can do it several different ways, but he can take a particular PIN number and pull that PIN up, and you say, we want a quick serve restaurant on that parcel, 183 in Halsted. He can, within seconds, it seems like, give you back results that says, here's the foot traffic based on, they know everything we're doing, Uncle Sam. He can tell you just about everybody who would go past that thing in a certain period of time that might be looking for another quick serve restaurant. Then he can go a different direction and tell you, here's the quick serve restaurants in the United States that are trying to expand into your area. So I don't want to do his presentation, but for just under $10,000, we can get the service for a year, and we can utilize that to market and research each and every one of our available parcels, and it would be a great tool to put in the toolbox of economic development. And it is a TIF eligible expense where we take a portion out of each of the TIFs, so it doesn't become a budget expense, but a general fund budget expense. So Max, if you would.
Appreciate the intro, Kevin. I might need someone to make me the owner, unless I already am. Let me see if I can just share it here.
Yep.
Yeah, looks like everything's good. Can I see my screen okay?
Yep.
Great. So Placer AI, we're a location analytics company, and we leverage mobile location data to provide market intelligence for any physical location across the U.S. Now we do this by harnessing data from millions of mobile devices, and then we obviously aggregate that data to learn about any physical place. Could be retailers, restaurants, shopping centers, parks, or even any road, streets, or highways. Not only can we tell you how many people visit the place, we can also tell you where they live, where they work, and where else they like to spend most of their time here. And in just 4 short years, we've become the leading data provider for over 4,500 customers, and over 1,400 of those fall into what we call our civic space. Now, as Kevin mentioned, we work with tons of cities, municipalities in the area. We work with City of Bonita, City of Stager, Park Forest, Matson, Tinley Park, Orland Park, just to name a few that are close by. But from our success in those markets, we started seeing retailers on board, the Targets, Best Buys, Walmarts, Burlington Coat Factories, Dollar Generals, and now as thousands more come aboard, we've expanded into restaurant groups, CPG companies, financial services, and even airports. And here you can see we're working with everything from city level organizations, we're working county level, economic development, tourism DMOs, bids, chambers of commerce, park districts, really everything systemic here. And there's a reason for our success. We just started selling commercially a little over 4 years ago. We're the only company in the space who spent 3.5 years prior to selling, optimizing our algorithms for accuracy. Okay, we did that by going out and building a privacy first panel of about 30 million mobile devices, accounts for about 80% of the US population there. We're able to do so by going out and partnering with dozens and dozens of mobile apps. Okay, from there we're able to build our own privacy first panel. And while our competition is out buying our other data from other panels, brokers, they've been severely impacted in that market, no longer yield the same levels of accuracy that they once claimed. But I promise I'm not going to bore you with slides here, but these are just some other ways that other cities and counties are leveraging our data. We have everything from retail analysis and recruitment, since Kevin just mentioned that you're going to have some vacancies that are going to need filling very soon here. Everything from parks and recreation, event analysis, reports from marketing, grant writing, and these are the main 9 ways that cities are currently using our data here. And now we're going to preload in some data here. But just for a visual, this place is Explore View. Okay, any location that we take a look at within the United States, we just be able to type in here and we'd be able to pull data for it. Okay, since we're already in London here, we have everything from Chugalo. I got pulled some data here for London Plaza, just for demonstration purposes for today. But as you can see, very easy to use interface here. And taking a look at London Plaza here, so we're taking a look at data here for the last full 12 months. But our data does go all the way back to January 1st of 2017, and it's as recent as just a few days ago there. So every day that you log in, you have a new day's worth of data to play around with the platform. But just to explain briefly some of these metrics, so first number I do want to call is going to be our panel visits here. Okay, so right around Glenwood Plaza, 63,000 phones entered Glenwood Plaza over the course of the last 3 months there, or last 12 months, I'm sorry. This is then extrapolated out to account for the rest of the US population, or people that aren't part of our panel, about 333,000 people. Yeah, that's going to be the amount of unique singular people that visited over the course of the last 12 months. And these are going to be how many visits total we have there. For 1.8 million total visits to Glenwood Plaza and those businesses in there. And given that these 2 numbers here are estimations, we're always back testing ourselves, getting back tested on this data. Big retailers, sports venues, they don't know exactly how many people are coming into their locations with things like door counters. And I always like to tell the example of Best Buy, because before they jumped out with us, they gave us addresses to 30 random locations all across the country. And what we're able to do is match marketing with their door count data. Okay, time and time again, it comes back anywhere between 96 and 98% accurate there, given that these 2 numbers here are estimation. And scrolling down here to our visit trends, this is where we're going to be able to see either a daily, weekly, or monthly frequency, and start to answer that question about what is driving foot traffic to a location over a given period of time here. And being able to understand some of the spikes, some of the dips in visitation, and as you're looking to bring in these new businesses, being able to actually see in real time how it's affecting the businesses that you already have. So as we can see some of the spikes and dips here, obviously dips, things like Thanksgiving, Christmas, and some of the bigger spikes here on days where either we have events within the city or just busy days, for gas stations, people leaving for Memorial Day, and that type of thing. A great place to the platform to be able to understand, retail, restaurant analysis. If you're looking at adding, say, a happy hour at Chugalo, and being able to see if that's actually driving foot traffic on those specific days during those hours that we're actually trying to promote that. And the same goes for retail, any type of Black Friday sales, promotional items, grocery stores, and that type of thing. Then moving right over here, we have our trade area, and what this is going to show is an exact heat map of where exactly we're getting our visitation from to Glenwood Plaza by home location. So if we zoom in here, we're able to actually see all these red areas are going to account for the top 20% of visitation that we're getting in Glenwood Plaza here, and all these blue areas are going to account for the bottom 20%. So being able to have a great understanding of exactly how far we're bringing the visitation to these businesses, and where exactly we need to target market to, and also being able to see the year-over-year change. If we knew that we got visitation to specific businesses in, say, 2021, 2022, 2023, if we're not in 2024, where exactly are we losing this visitation from the nearby cities? And we're able to actually pinpoint that neighborhood business by working. Okay, this is going to show you down to the zip code where exactly we're getting this visitation from to over the last 12 months here. No surprise, mostly local visitation here. Chicago Heights is going to be number one. Actually, I grew up in Chicago Heights, so lifelong resident here. But moving down, we have Glenwood and Homewood, also in Harvey here, and it's going to show the exact amount of visitors and also the percentage of visitation that we're getting from each one of these zip codes. It's going to show you the exact same as we hover over these as well. And then also the year-over-year change. Being able to understand, over the last 12 months, which areas have we been most positively impacted, and which areas are we actually increasing foot traffic to, and more importantly, which ones are we losing. So locally, as you can see, we're losing a good amount of visitation here in the Glenwood area. As you can see, South Island, about 4,200 visits, and Homewood, about 3,600, and locally, about 16,000. Okay, so being able to answer, which specific businesses are we actually losing visitation from, and where are they going? All these green areas are going to be the most positively impacted. So as we can see, down here in Chicago Heights, Fort Heights, South Village area, we have almost 20,000 visits year over year, and just over that, another 9,000 here as well. We also have our visitor journey here. Okay, being able to see where exactly people are going to before, going to after, being able to understand where we're, on the retailing side of things, being able to see where exactly we're leading that visitation to. Not just saying, to a specific area or zip code, but what businesses are we losing these to? If we're, have a specific grocery store that we're looking at, or we're taking a look at a retailer, what do they have on their shelves that we don't have, and how can we retain some of that market share? So think of this down the middle is down the plaza. Yeah, everything on the left is going to be the prior locations, where people are going to. Everything on the right are going to be the post location. Okay, where people are going to directly after visiting Level Plaza here. And we're not just limited to say the top 5. We can take a look at the top 10 prior post locations. Yeah, as you can see, most of the locally are coming in 11, and the same goes for post. We can actually take a look at the top 440 locations. Okay, so we get very granular with, being able to see the exact number of how much visitation that we're losing to these specific areas. And then lastly, here on this journey, we have our favorite places. Okay, and I haven't thought of our grocery stores for now, but you're able to see everything from, being able to understand the business trends and also the brand affinities of people that are visiting your businesses here. And we can get down to that category level. Okay, so I have my Glenwood Plaza here, but for instance, we want to see, people that have visited Glenwood Plaza in the last 12 months, where are they doing their grocery shopping at? Making sure that they're staying within Glenwood and spending their money here realistically. So as we can see, good amount of visitation we're losing over here to Walmart. We have a Meijer and East Fresh Market, and obviously the Jewel down the street here. But if we want to take a look at, say, dining, we can get even more granular with this and say we only want to look at sit-down restaurants. You can even see that. So, no surprise here, we got Chugalo, 0.1 miles away, typically these people coming from the parking lot. Got Jewel, Osco, Walmart here still, because they still have grocery store. Everything from Chili's, Bona Beef, Hooters, Buffalo Wild Wings. These are going to be areas where, if you do look at expanding, look at, on the restaurant recruitment side of things, these are already going to be a home run. You know that you've got 39,000 visits over the course of the last 12 months that are going to say this Bona Beef is lost more. If that's something that you're looking at recruiting, you show this to, in your conversation with Bona and say, hey, we know that in this specific area of Glenwood, based off the demographic fit and based off of the real estate and property that we have, this is going to be a home run right here. And then lastly, to our avoid analysis tool, and this is what Kevin touched on briefly earlier. And what we're able to do here is we're able to compare any business, any pre-existing business that you already have, and we're able to show you based off the demographic fit, based off of the cannibalization of businesses that you already have, and also the frequent contacts. You can't bring in a business realistically that's next to another one that doesn't really work anywhere else in the United States. So it's going to show you from a score of 100% down to 0%, what's going to be the best fit down to the category. And right here, I just have quick service restaurants on here. For Chugalo, so if you're looking at bringing in a specific, like a smaller quick service restaurant or some type of restaurant nearby, it's going to show you, like I mentioned, the demographic fit score, the cannibalization, because you want to make sure that, the smaller mom and pop shops, Arnold's Pizza, that type of thing, to where it's not going to ruin those businesses by bringing it in, and it's also going to show you the frequent codependency. So from 100% down to 0%, these are going to be your best bets. Something like Dion's Pizza is going to show you that you have a 0 within the state, 0.9 within the US, but you have a 100% relative fit score here. So this would be a home run if you're able to bring it in based off that criteria that I mentioned. And over here, if you click on it, it's going to show you why it's a 100% fit. The demographic fit, frequency of cotenants, and also the average monthly visits here. And we have everything from, I just have fast food and quick service on. You can take a look at grocery stores, fitness, clothing, if you want to look at any type of fashion accessories, restaurants, gas stations. So anything specifically we'd be able to pull up for you, we'd be able to compare to pre-existing business that you already have, and then show you, okay, since we already know that we have this in business and it's doing very well, we want to make sure that the next one that we bring in isn't going to bluff it, we're not going to ruffle any feathers with any business owners, and make sure that we're increasing foot traffic for all businesses and not just bringing it in, you know, retaining market share from pre-existing businesses we already have. And then lastly, just to wrap up here, you would have access to a dedicated customer success manager. Okay, someone's here from our end is just a way for us to support you in our things. Okay, this is going to be a named individual to your account that's going to help you with training, onboarding, and really there to help bounce ideas off of you. You're there to take any active project you have with them and make sure that they're really, you know, getting the most use out of the data here as possible. We're right around a 97% retention rate with our customers, you know, meaning that people aren't only happy with the data that they're getting, but also happy with the service they're receiving on top of that. Everything from, you know, working with you in any type of webinars you need, to give you any type of training, and really there to help, you know, show you how other cities of similar sizes are using the data and getting the most use out of it here as well.
Thanks, Max. I think probably that last piece was most important to me as we went through the presentation with the staff. I wanted to know how we could, once we started to analyze this stuff, who would help us to determine what it said, and then make those connections to some of these businesses. That's a piece that they also offer in that. And I think it's important now, timing-wise, as we're getting ready in possibly the month of November with the Wind Creek Casino opening, most likely opening casino piece in November with the hotel restaurants to follow. I think that tracking the traffic is going to be very important for us in the development of that corridor, and none of us have that expertise. The Wind Creek people can tell you stuff, but this is specific to I'm just blown away by the depth and the detail they can get into, and I think it's going to be very helpful as we complete that development of that corridor. So again, it's really, I don't need or looking for a recommendation, but I want to see the direction I think we should go, and the backup and support that they can give us. And again, that would be TIF eligible expense. And if we paid the $9,000 and some dollars for it, I haven't wrapped my mind around yet, nor talking with Brian with a why, if we were to split it equally through the 8, but we all know we have more needs in a couple of TIFs as opposed to all of them. So there may be a different funding formula where we take portions out of the different TIFs, or maybe as we use it in that TIF, it's charged against it. I'm not sure of that yet, and Brian's brain's a little overloaded right now, so I haven't gone there. But that's what I'm working to. Any questions of myself or Max? It's a great tool for the toolbox. It's not going to do the job for us,
Okay.
but I think it's a good help.
If this is to give us an idea as to the businesses and the traffic flow, what would Linwood be? We know every bit of black property here, Main Street in particular, there's nothing coming into the plaza. So what do we need this information for?
Because we need to be progressive, and we need to go out and market, and that's what I've been asked to do for a long time. And this is a tool, I believe, that helps us do that, because it identifies, and the one piece maybe you didn't catch. Let's say we take the parcel that's first off of Arquilla, the first one south of Arquilla, that first piece is not sold or developed or anything. That would be one of my first targets, is to take that particular pin, which is that land that goes from Arquilla all the way to the edge of the new Silken parking lot. And that would be a focal point, or where we look at, based on his data, and when you say traffic patterns, it's not really traffic patterns, it's what's the cell phone visits, what's the artificial intelligence telling you about what the cars passing are looking for. And that's when we focus on that. Once we get it determined that, hey, probably on this pin here, the best use of that, which we all think might be an Ace Hardware store, but the detail here tells us, now that should really be a high-end restaurant. Then we go the next step with his platform, and we look at high-end sit-down restaurant, maybe a steak joint, and that software can identify what high-end restaurants and steak joints specifically, or Italian restaurants or Greek restaurants, are not only willing to invest in your community because they've already done that research, but it also tells you which one of those are currently developing. Because there's many of them that just aren't developing. But his software and his data will tell us that, A1 Steakhouse is looking for a location in the Southland, and they've expressed an interest possibly by the casino. That's the piece we don't have locally. We don't have in our mind what we have available. We all know the inventory. We just don't know the potential. And this is trying to gauge or give us the background on the potential.
So this would probably help us, potentially, with Sanford Television on Main Street.
Absolutely.
It's been there for, I don't know, 3 years, 3 years.
A little over.
4 years, yeah.
Amazingly enough, I gotta tell you, it's too early, we have a serious inquiry on that land who has asked us for, the site, not the site plan, but the map of the area. It's very preliminary, but it's funny you mentioned that one, but that is one that Max and I did look at. The other one is south of the Glen Woody. There's some great industrial commercial pieces down there, which we talked about before, but what's looking for that land? This puts the two of them together. Our inventory and what the people are looking for. What the people are looking for and what the companies are willing to put. It kind of brings all three of those into an intersection.
Wasn't that land, south of Glenwood, wasn't that, thought about as being a marijuana farm at one point?
Yes.
And that's it.
Yeah. Since then, the last one that came up, and we fought hard for, I made a presentation, it was on a big company that makes NFL branded t-shirts and logos and things, and we were in a fierce competition between us, Hammond, and Homewood, and we lost to Homewood. I mean, it's tough out there. So I just believe that this isn't the do-all end-all, Jesse. I think this is just something else that can give us more data, and on the Halsted corridor, even more so because of that. We don't know what the casino's going to generate in movements. He'll be able to tell us probably 2 days after it opens what those movements are. That's incredible. I was blown away by it, but I'm not the technical guy, so no further questions. We'll wrap it up. Thanks, Max. Appreciate you. I'll be back with you tomorrow.
Yep, take care.
Okay. And that concludes my portion of the Economic Development / Finance Committee meeting, and we'll turn this over to the boss.
Good evening, thank you, Chief. Good evening, everybody. Tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to kind of dive into a draft of the finance budget, but just to kind of let you know what that is consisted of. Brian and I have been meeting with the department heads probably for the last couple of months, looking at what their budgetary needs are, what their trainings are, what their historical data is. And as a result, we've come up with a draft. Brian's going to kind of go through that draft. Brian's going to give a date in which we ask that you get your comments back to us for review, and answer the questions you have tonight. And then the goal will be to take the information you give, work that into the budget to some extent, and then to present that back into the next packet that goes out to the board for their next board meeting, which will be next Tuesday. So with that being said, as well, Adam is here that has kind of helped to work with Brian on this, and I'll turn it over to Brian to get the process started. Again, I had to step out at the beginning, I apologize, but around 7:45, we're trying to do a hard stop. If we need to kind of continue, then I'll have Brian continue, mainly because of the visuals taking place down the street. So, turn it over to Brian.
Oh, you're economic.
Okay, you are welcome to go.
So Michael, my address is just to you, like,
So Michael, you did receive an email, I hope, on Friday, at least with the preliminary to the preliminary draft. Just listening to the comments of the public in the last few meetings, board meetings, I know this is an important thing that we need to get on the table and at least working towards something. Is it perfect? No. I'm gonna admit that. Is it a great guideline? Possibly, yes. The cover page that you have there in front of you kind of shows the summary where I took the detailed information that's behind it to give you a look at where the net general operations is going to end up if we exactly with all this information. And I'm not saying that we have to go exactly with all this information, and I'll cover that more in detail, but right now it's rolling up with a net operations surplus of 138,000, a little bit over that. Then I'm breaking out the TIFs below that by their contiguous nature, so that we can be smart about how money can possibly port between the TIFs. They need to be contiguous, so I try to group them. I call it contiguous A and contiguous B, just for my ear, trying to keep it in track of what goes with what. You can see right now in total, the contiguous TIF A is at a deficit of almost 1.2 million. And contiguous B is at a slight surplus of 70,000. So we can't necessarily match those two together, but it's important to understand that. And probably the other thing to kind of talk quickly about the TIF part, and I included it in your packet, is yes, we can go at a deficit for the TIFs primarily because we have fund balances, significant fund balances in the TIF accounts. And so the group I mentioned there were $1.2 million as a deficit almost. On the bank statement side, you can see August, our industrial TIF, which is about the middle, the first entry after the Glen Woody checking balance, is at $4.2 million. So, and that's not the only one in that group, but that's the primary owner of helping pay for that overage. What is that overage coming from? Primarily from taking the sewer system from the South Plaza all the way down to where the Midwest Reclamation Group is working on. So that's roughly, that's basically all of that expense, with still the Fire Station 2 coming into play with that. So in combination of getting money still in those TIFs in the current year, plus spending down some of the surpluses from previous, we are in decent shape on that side. And all the details are in the document behind this for you. What also is not in this package is pay increases. And when I say pay increases, I'm primarily speaking to the non-contractual personnel within the village. That's roughly 15 people. I didn't add it all up, but we could put a pay increase here, but I was kind of waiting to hear where the board was at this. A pay increase of 3% would be under 50,000. So we can kind of gauge what we can do or not do here. Again, we have a surplus currently, the way I have it written today, at 138, so we can't afford to potentially give the pay increases to the staff. Again, maybe on this cover pages so you can understand, I grouped them all together to get to the 138. We do have surpluses and deficits depending on which fund we're looking at. They're in the boxes to the right of the expenses. So for instance, the corporate group, currently it's showing just under a $600,000 surplus, but that's going to help pay for a lot of the stuff that's going on in the water department. Does that all make sense to you? I'm gonna stop and take any kind of overall questions that you might have.
Also, the $138,000 surplus you mentioned, that we can absorb the contractual increases out of that.
And again, that's depending on the percentage that's agreed upon, that goes out, but if it's 3% as a number, 50,000 is well within the 138.
So I said contract, when you said non-contract.
Non-contract, right.
They may or may not even come to play, it's not, they may or may not.
The non-contractual, right.
Okay, I understand.
And that's a decision of the board, not necessarily us, so that's kind of why I left it off of here. Any open positions, they were listed in here as for the full year, so, open positions are still accounted for, but again, without, if it's a non-contractual one, it's without a raise attached to it. And I would say any other changes within the current realm. So if you paid attention to any of the meetings, people are asking for different things around the police or different things around the fire. Well, right now it's kind of the status quo. If we want to do something different, we have to understand what that direction is. So quickly go through some of the detail around it. So primarily the bigger area that I had changed between sending this out Friday and what you're seeing today really is on the revenue sides where I've been trying to get better information as far as what's missing as far as in the general ledger. I'm not saying that it was missing in our checking accounts or bank accounts. It's just, it didn't make it to the general ledger, which was what this reporting is really driving up. So I have gone through all the bank statements that generate interest income, and I was able to improve that number quite a bit. So kind of, and it hits the general, the water and sewer, and then he basically is the bigger areas of where the interest comes in. When I net the three areas, FY24, looking at our I-fund accounts, generated $412,000 in interest. What I had in the budget prior to this submission was about 100. I raised it about another 105, so we're in this budget, preliminary budget that you have, we're at 210,000. So still conservative to what we got in 2024. Can we improve that? Yes, but I wanted to be on the conservative side. To give you a feel, so far in 2025 through July, because I don't have the latest I-fund balances yet for August, we are already at $120,000. But with the talk about interest rates going down, it does concern me to go all the way again to what I call out as $420,000 or $412,000 from FY24. In the budget memo columns, in the details, I included anywhere where I changed it from what you saw on Friday. Whether it be that I raised it or lowered it, it's all indicated on here in the details. Those aren't super significant on those, but plus and minus, 20, 30,000 here and there. Do you want me to go through page by page and we'll go through this, or do you want to just sort it all? Yeah. I do want to call out, and it was already in there before, but on the first page, and it's the highlighted number. This is all about the Arquilla levy for the most part in here, where we're going to, we already did actually expend $663,000, but we will be reimbursed through the MW water reclamation payback. So that income is going up in that block in comparison to whatever it's been in the past. In addition, we have a little over $200,000 grant coming in the fire department. So between the two of those, that's what's coming up with that $900,000 for grant money. What was any of the other big ones I wanted to just make sure you were understanding? I didn't do this in every department, but like, for instance, on page 2, under finance director, they haven't started yet. That's not me at this point. That's not me, at least. So I reduced that to at least half. Could there be even more savings there? But it's, part-time savings, yes. But we're not going to get that job filled, by the half a year. So I cut that position in half. And I also did the same with the senior center. Whereas, again, we don't have that job filled or even posted, so the chances of us even having it in place at half year is pretty slim. The rest of the departments where we had openings, I still left them at the full year. That gives them a little bit of ability to maneuver potential, maybe of a police front as an example, where they might be able to go out and go after a veteran police officer as opposed to a new police officer that we have to put through training. That way they would be accessible to the community immediately and not having to wait to go through that whole training program. Maybe fast forwarding to maybe a tip page to call out where that project is showing up. So on page 13, it shows where we're going to be moving some money around between funds. And this is the industrial tip where it's showing 60 and then about 660. We're going to be porting we're going to be transferring out money to Halstead North, Halstead South in order to cover the two big projects that are happening in those areas. And then those projects are called out in the following pages as far as their project expenses that we know of at this point. So without going through too much more detail, just interested in any other questions you might have right now before digesting the information completely. Okay. Hoping that we get some kind of feedback from the Finance Committee by end of day Thursday so that we can incorporate it within what we're going to release to the board on Friday for the Tuesday discussion. Does that seem feasible? And you're more than welcome to reach out to me. You can call here or probably best through email. Then I can answer any questions that you guys have up until you give your recommendations or comments. Really, I'm looking for comments, because like I said at the beginning, this isn't perfect. So we are a team. I don't want to do what's wrong for the community, I want to do what's right for the community. So wherever we need to adjust things, I'm all for it, as long as we have the sound logic that's going behind it. But we have to get something out there for the team to bench off of. Okay.
Thank you.
We're adjourned?
Yeah, so that does, unless there's any questions for